was rich or whatever. But pretty much my understanding was because we were concentrated in the lower east side of the city of Detroit. There was an area on the west side where you had a concentration of black folks. And then you had black folks that stayed on the other side of 8 Mile. And in '67, it seemed to be that it was a culmination of a lot of oppression. We used to live in, I lived off on J Street, which was off of Joseph Campo and MacDougal. And, you know, we used to see the police ride up and down the street, and they were called the Big Four. And the Big Four was known to just harass any black male that was on the corner. So if they were at a pool hall or whatever may be the case, and the Big Four pulled up, you usually had 4 Caucasian large males jump out the car, and they would begin to harass the black males. Well, we see some of that still today. In '67, you know, I was attending Miller Junior High at that time. Miller used to be a high school. It was one of the few black high schools, and it was in the Black Bottom. And I think it was about '57 it changed over to Miller Junior High. I was graduating from Miller Junior High during that summer, and that's when the riot occurred. It was, I think, you know, back to, you know, the employment situation and why many of us had migrated here from the South. My parents and my family had migrated from Kentucky. Most of us were born here. I had one sister that was born in Kentucky, and then we came back to Detroit. But it was, Detroit was seen as a better opportunity than being in the South, and Kentucky was the South. And when we came here, you know, the auto industry was beginning to hire many blacks. And so it was an opportunity for my father to get a job. And my father worked at Chrysler, and, you know, he made a minimum, you know, wage at that time, which was a decent wage compared to what you would make in the coal mines of Kentucky. But again, it was a very segregated area. If you went downtown, you know, it was very clear that black folks were not being employed downtown. Hudson's was the symbol of the department store downtown, and the only jobs that you could get at Hudson's was operating the elevator. And in order to operate the elevator, we called it the brown bag. You had to be able to pass the brown bag coloring in order to operate the Hudson's elevator. So those were very few jobs available downtown for black folks at that time. And that resulted in quite a bit of hostility. I mean, you were being oppressed regularly by a white police department with very few black. You know, we had one notoriously known black person named Ben Turbin. And Ben Turbin happened to live on J Street. He lived on the same street that I lived on, in Black Bottom. And he was, you know, known to be a terror. You know, you were going to have to keep it straight when Ben Turbin. And Ben Turbin made it clear that he was going to enforce the law. And he was going to enforce that law on black folks. In '67, it just seems that we just heard of a disturbance over on the west side. And then we heard of a disturbance that was taking place up on Mack Street. And then it just seemed to just spread everywhere. It was an opportunity for black folks to stand up and say, no, you know, we're not going to take this anymore. You know, there were whatever stores was in the neighborhood. It was an opportunity at that time that stores were looted. But people were really saying that we're not going to deal with the police department as it is today. We're not going to deal with the employment situation as it is today. We're not going to deal with the substandard housing as it was in the 60s. And it was just a fire that was ignited, and it spread throughout the entire city. So those are my reflections on 1967.